Drivers setting out on their warm-up lap for the Intercontinental A race here at Oran Park for the Oceiana Karting Championships. With me in commentary, Edward Krause and Greg Russ. Greg, let's take a look at the grid.
Predominantly Australian drivers in this one, Greg, with just one New Zealander driver in it, a young lady. Let's take a look at the grid, though. It's Nicholas Aglin from pole position. On the outside of him, Scott Logan. From row 2, Simon Meyer. And on the outside of him, Justin Dwyer. From row 3, it's Brendan Dive and Bradley Brown. And from 4, Joshua Pontello and David Caruso.
In the starters' hands, it will be a rolling start, given that everything looks A-OK. The pace car will pull to the side, and we're away. 28 laps, 30 kilometres. Here at Oran Park, just look at them storm into the first corner. Our pole sitter has snuck through and will control it from the front. And that's exactly what you'd hope after setting pole position. That's what it's all about. Win the pre-final. Hasn't gone his way, though, as we've gone already into a change there for the lead. And I think, Rusty, right at the moment, everyone should try and keep out of trouble. We've seen a lot of contact in the previous races. It strikes me that everybody's pretty warmed up. They're very keen to get on with the job, but possibly a little too clean.
You're quite right there. In fact, it's all important to settle down very early in these races. Scott Logan is your leader. Aglin sitting back in second place. A good dice going on for third, though. Here, in fact, comes the pole sitter sneaking up the inside. Oh, and there's a bit of touch of wheels there. It looked as though Aglin's nose cone might have been slightly affected by that. We'll have to see how it goes throughout the course of this race. But a lot of the drivers now just starting to settle into the circuit here through the Skyline area and then down towards Tracker Tyre Corner. Your leader is kart number 143. It's Scott Logan, and the pole sitter, Aglin, sits back in behind him.
Yes, a bit of looking around going on there. Aglin just seeing what the opposition are up to. As far as he's concerned, he's already put the runs on the board. But the big question is, and always is in this type of racing, whether he used up his tyres trying to win the pre-final. He has to keep the same tyres from the pre-final, which was earlier this morning, into this race this afternoon. And it is hot. Track temperatures have been hot all week, but today it is particularly hot. So as far as these guys are concerned, they're just going to have to think about some tactics out there, and then they're going to have to contend with traffic. Something that we've seen throughout the previous couple of races is that traffic really can play a part in blowing away your plan. You can have a good plan all put together mentally, and it simply falls in a hole as soon as you come up against some lap competitors. Once again, the officials doing a fantastic job here. The Sydney Kart Racing Club really should be commended for putting such a big job together. It's a lot of work. A lot of these people are volunteers, and we've enjoyed ourselves the entire week that we've been here. It's absolutely brilliant to see this kind of racing here in Australia. Well, as the race continues on, it's easy to see that some of the competitors are far more comfortable out in the breeze. In other words, they like being out in front and are quite happy to lead. One thing I have noticed over a period of the last couple of days, at least with the qualifying runs, other people prefer to sit back and maybe use a slipstream or two. A little bit of contact there, and you can see that that really does hurt the person who's coming in behind and manages to slow themselves down. These things are direct drive. They've got a solid rear axle, and they don't like having that done to them whatsoever. They simply stall. There's no clutch. And generally, given that there's nothing damaged, the driver can pick up the rear of the cart, run with it. It's pretty physical. Run with it, put it back onto the ground and restart. But you've also got to put up with the fact that there's a lot of people coming in behind.
Let's have a look at this replay. Gary Dan is the man who comes off second best. There you can see it. He got clipped by cut number 117, and that is Joseph Pasquale. So bad luck for Dan.
Yeah, clean off the ground. That one, all four, hanging in the breeze. Well, as you can see right now, the pace at the front, no one slowing down. And again, some different styles. You can see some of the drivers hunching as they come up and over the bridge. You can see there they reach down to grab the air box. Basically, they block off the air supply to the engine, and the carburetor then sucks a mile of fuel into the engine to try and keep it cool. They are air-cooled engines. Reed valve, which means that they're similar to maybe a whippersnipper engine or a motorcycle engine. They use a reed valve induction, unlike the bigger classes, which are rotary disc valve. You will not see those in domestic type of engine applications. Edward Krause, even though these are a more production-based design of engine, they are certainly a specialist engine for the job.
That's right, Greg. The idea behind this class is that all competitors have access to equal equipment. All chassis, engine, carburetors and tyres have to be homologated with the governing body, with CIK, and there are no factory specials. Having said that, however, as Meyer he had a shot up the inside of Scott Logan there. They were running second and third. They'll now be well back on the field. as Meyer, he regains the track. I don't know what happened to Scott Logan, but he would have lost several places out of that.
It just goes to show, doesn't it, that sometimes you can get a little too anxious. Let's have a look at it on the replay. And it's under brakes. This has gone all wrong. Both of them off the track. And yes, you can see there that the dust is not going to do either of those engines any good at all. They don't run air cleaners, they just run an air box, so they're not very happy when they get a big lung full of dust like that. In fact, during one of the qualifying days, we had some problems with cement dust being sucked up into the engine. So realistically, the life of these engines is pretty short into the bargain. They will be torn down and virtually every moving part replaced after this particular race. They run a single ring on the piston, and really abrasive material going through the engine is not very nice to them, and consequently you'll find yourself quickly having to rebuild the engine. These things rev hard. I mean, we're talking nearly 20,000 RPM, and you can well imagine that at those kind of revs you really are asking a lot from all of the components. Well, right at the moment, Greg Rust, the racing seems to be settling down. Our leader here got himself a bit of a break on the field.
Unfortunately, with the demise of Logan and Meyer, who fell back through the field, Aglin's really got himself a nice little lead. Good speeds being turned out there on the circuit at the moment. Aglin, in fact, is the fastest man around this 1.1 kilometre kart circuit at Oran Park, lapping around about just on 50 seconds, in fact, and around about 120 kilometres an hour as they come up across the top of the bridge and through the radar trap.
Well, that's Dyer there, 141 we saw. He looks tidy out there. Aglin, though, at the moment, seems to be in control of this one. Now, all he really has to do is keep his nose clean. Easier said than done. The other thing he has to do, of course, is drive for the finish. And this class, Intercontinental A, is a stepping stone up to the A super classes. And Formula A, the name of the game is you cut your teeth here in this class and move your way forward. This also is a more cost-effective class, as Edward was alluding to. The fact of the matter is that there are not factory specials as such in this particular class of racing. Needless to say, you can still spend a fair amount of money in getting yourself a competitive piece of equipment. The chassis, by the way, not only do the engines wear themselves out, but the chassis, they have a limited life as well. They are extremely stressed. These chassis are solid. There's no suspension, be it front or rear. And another competitor there finding himself out of the race. That is bad luck. But the chassis do cop a pounding. You can well imagine that with the weight of a driver sitting so close to the ground and no flex other than tyre flex and some built-in flex into the chassis, the life of the chassis is fairly limited into the bargain. So karting is almost a bit of a throwaway sport at this level. But having said that, if you get yourself involved in club racing, you can get well and truly a season from a chassis, and most competitors are getting 2 and 3 race meetings from a set of tyres, and probably the same, if not more, from an engine rebuild. So realistically, this is the cheapest form of motorsport in the game, and it's probably up there for excitement. If you get any closer to the ground, you'd be sitting on it. And this particular kart track at Oran Park is not always run. But in fact, this one's been put together especially for this event. But there is a kart track here at Oran Park, and it is a super challenge where you see them come up and off the bridge to get onto the normal kart track. They make a hard right and then back down this hill here. So Oran Park well and truly catering to the karting enthusiasts, and majority of weekends you'll find some form of kart racing here at Oran Park.
Lakeland is still your leader at the moment, driving a Tony kart. Here's the gentleman sitting back in second place. That's Brendan Dive. Dive also aboard a Tony kart, so it's Tony karts 1 and 2 at the moment out on the circuit, and Bridgestone tyres 1 and 2, would you believe. Sitting back there in third place is Justin Dyer, driving a PCR, also on a Bridgestone shod machine. And rounding out the top 4, it's David Caruso, driving a Merlin. Merlin, one of the proud supporters of the meeting here at Oran Park this weekend.
Yes, it's great to see so many supporters, but also the Bridgestone tyres. Depends what class you're in as to what tyres seem to be the competitive make. And Edward, didn't we have some dramas earlier in the week with some of the homologation of chassis?
That's right, Greg. We had a problem concerning around 8 karts where, being a production-based class, they must run homologated chassis and run those chassis without modifications. The technical director of the meeting deemed that modifications had been made to the Haas, PCR and several other manufacturers, but these modifications were removed and all karts were allowed to race.
Well, fortunately, there was a little bit of sensibility in all of that, because these guys really don't want to come this far and find themselves with an illegal chassis. By the same token, everyone who runs a legal chassis certainly don't want to be beaten by something that wasn't originally homologated. Otherwise, they'd all run out and buy the same chassis. Well, the race is settling in, Greg Rust, and Agland, he's doing a pretty good job.
Well, he certainly is, but the battle for third place is really interesting at this point in time. William Yarwood there battling with the cart number 116, and would you believe that is John Joyce. So Joyce has now snuck up the inside and into third place, and would you believe it? He has come all the way from 31st place to third at this stage. What a tremendous drive from him.
It'll be interesting to see whether his tyres can take the pace. You've got to hand it to Joyce. That's a brilliant performance, but realistically, he's pretty well, he's worked it over pretty hard. There's no other way to put it, but that is a brilliant run from him. Let's hope that he can continue to sit in that place. And, I was just having a look previously through qualifying and the pre-final. You would be flat out picking what kind of chassis, engine and tyre combination you wanted. Here's Joyce. Look at this. He's on the pace now for second place. Round the inside he goes, thank you very much. So he moves himself into second place all the way from rear of field. I wonder if Agland is aware of what's going on behind, because he's going to find himself with an absolute charger in John Joyce coming up from behind. And right at the moment, it is still Aglander. He's in control, and I think Joyce really is making a late charge. Good battle going on here for third place. That's Yarwood up the inside of Dive. He's gotten through as well. So heading for the last lap forward, Greg Rust, this is really coming down to a huge battle for third.
Certainly is, and at this late stage of the race, you really can't do much with any theories you might have had about the race. Simply throw them out the window and get on with it as you head towards the checkered flag. In second place, though, a terrific drive from young John Joyce. Came all the way from 31st place. I don't think he'll be able to do much in terms of bridging the gap between himself and your leader, the young driver on screen, Nick Agland. Hasn't he done a good job in this one?
Certainly looks strong, and he's only been challenged once for the entire 28 laps of this race. So it's pretty well gone his way right from the drop, and realistically, he is the champion of this class. It's been a brilliant run. Joyce, though, well, all the way from 31st. There's your winner. Agland crosses the line. Joyce will be coming across the line. That's him there in the green and white machine. 116 grabs second place, and Yarwood grabs third position. Well, the kart's really turning it on here at Oran Park. Congratulations must go to the officials. This is a big job for them. They've been here for quite a few days putting all this together. In fact, Cam's also here in attendance. This is an international meeting. And from Cam's, John Benson, he's a pretty busy man, but Greg Rust managed to catch up with him.